Hello, everyone. This is Emigram Podcast, and my name is Dania. And today I'm happy to welcome my first guest of this season, Patrick. Patrick works in aerospace industry in Dubai. Hi, Patrick. Thank you so much for your time to join me today, and welcome to my podcast.
Hi, thanks very much for having me on the show.
Great. So let's first of all start from introduction. Could you please tell me a little bit more about yourself, your family, and how long you have been living in Dubai?
Yeah, so my name is Patrick. I'm basically Danish French, so Danish mother and French father, and born in Denmark. So I'm around 40 years old now, and I work as a customer support director, as you mentioned, for an aerospace company here in Dubai, but it's an international aerospace company. And I'm coming up to about 6 years now in Dubai, but before that I was in Hamburg around 5 years, in Germany, and before that I was actually in England 14 years, where I did my education and I started my career in England as well.
Nice. Yeah. You mentioned Hamburg, like it's a very sweet town that I have good memories of because we were planning to move there at some time, and we spent there a few months, and it was a really great city. I really like that.
It's a very nice city, especially in the summer.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a big change moving from European country, Denmark, to the Middle East country. And I'm curious, how did your adaptation go? Did you have a cultural shock when you just moved to United Arab Emirates?
Well, for me in particular, I have been working in the Middle East and Africa region since my early career in 2008, and that also includes living a year in Sudan in Africa. And as well, I used to come several times on visit in Dubai for my work. So moving here has not been that much of a culture shock. However, where I would say that the culture shock comes in, it's more in interacting with many different types of people from other countries who have, very different type of backgrounds compared to European culture. And this is where you see a stark divide in people's upbringing and the way that they operate and behave, can be very different from what we're used to in Europe or in the Western world.
What is the difference? Tell me a little bit more how it's different.
Well, let's say an example would be, in Europe, we tend to be quite polite and we wait in queue for our turn and so on. And there's other cultures that are not used to that. A lot of people, and they tend to just huddle up in together, stand very closely to each other. And from European and Western world, we kind of like our private space. So
Yeah.
that's a big, a big
Yeah.
difference.
I understand. Yeah. I traveled to Dubai twice, and it was a while ago, maybe 7 years ago. And for me, it was a typical beach bamming vacation. What I remember about Dubai, it had lots of shopping malls, white roads. It was pretty innovative city. But I guess living there as a citizen, it's quite a different experience. And I'm curious how comfortable for you as an immigrant live in Dubai.
So I mean, yes, Dubai is a very good beach location and a very popular holiday destination. And I think it was actually one of the most visited cities in the world in 2023. At least in the top three. So it's a very popular destination to come on holiday. But of course, as a resident, we do try to take advantage of that. Sometimes we go to the beaches. We try to enjoy what the city has to offer as well. But at the same time, we're also leading normal lives where we might just go home and watch Netflix the whole evening. So I mean, if you go out every day as well, you can very easily spending a lot of your money on entertainment, and that's then also something to be mindful about. But I would say in general, we are quite comfortable, and it's possible to have a good life if you have a certain level of salary. I would say it's very safe here, if not one of the safest cities in the world. The main crime you might be up against is more like cybercrime or scammers, where you have people calling you and trying to get your bank details, things like that. Otherwise, I've never had any issues. Just in terms of like career development, I think it really depends what industry you're in and if you have any like specialty skills. So for me in the aerospace industry, I'm more in a sales-oriented role. And for me personally, it's more difficult. It has been more difficult to find other positions because Dubai is a very attractive city. So the competition is very high. And you have a lot of people also wants to move here for perks such as tax-free salaries. But if, for example, you're a specialist engineer, maybe in construction and oil and gas, or some type of IT specialist, then it's probably a lot easier to find a job and to move around within the different companies, or even to start your own company.
What types of perks do you have from tax perspective? Could you tell a little bit more? I heard about, but not quite sure.
Yeah, so on your income tax, there's income on your salary, there's no income tax. Generally, if you have your own company, let's say, only just last year they introduced corporate tax, but it's also after a certain threshold where maybe you have to, I think it's around $85,000 in profit. After that, you start paying, I think, 9% tax, corporate tax. But for us, let's say normal workers, we
Yeah.
don't pay any income tax. And the same
Oh,
with, if you buy property, for example, there's only one fee you pay in the beginning. And after that, there's no additional tax on your property. You just pay what they call municipality tax, and that's like maybe $50 a month. So there's a perks to it. They don't pay income tax, but then of course they find other little fees where they charge you and get some money back.
that's great. Your gross income equal to your net income, kind
Pretty much,
of. Yeah.
yes.
It sounds like a miracle after living in Canada and US. Wow. And I talked to other people from Middle East countries, and what they're saying that it's hard to get like a citizenship, or almost impossible to get a citizenship, and you are kind of welcome in the country until you have a contract. Is it the same
So
situation in Dubai?
they've changed a lot since COVID, because during COVID a lot of people lost their jobs and they left. So a lot of people left, and they realized maybe that people had to leave because of the regulations. They had to leave quite quick. So that was back then in 2020. If you lost your job, you had to leave within a month. They changed that now to, I think it's 6 months. You have time to find something else. And what they've also done is introduce a lot of different types of visas. So you can have like a remote contract with a company, in US or Europe, whatever. But you can still live here as a remote worker. And they've also introduced what they call golden residency, where you have visa for 10 years. But then you either have to have certain business, or you have to have certain threshold on your salary before you can get that type of visa. So they've done a lot of things to make it more attractive to stay long term. They also introduced a unemployment insurance. So then you have unemployment insurance for about 6 months, I think, while you're still looking for a job. So they're doing everything they can really to promote Dubai as a good place to be for long term as well. But I mean, you will never get citizenship. If you're
I
not born
see.
here, in an Emirati family, you're not going to get the citizenship.
At least they're doing some improvements for the long-term
Yes.
visas, which is already great, I think. And you mentioned that Dubai is pretty high competitive city. And is it easy for you to balance your job and family?
I think for me, with a European company, I'm generally doing okay, but a lot of other people do work a lot in Dubai. It's more, I would say, the work culture more aligned with American norms in terms of working hours, number of holidays, child leave. So, for example, we are having a baby in a few months, and for me as a man, I will only be able to get 5 days paternity leave. And then
It's
if I want to
nothing.
stay longer, yeah. So if for the next, 2 or 3 weeks, I would have to take my own holiday for that. I don't get more in paternity leave. So those are the things where it's very different from Europe, and it's more like the American culture.
Is it normal to work overtime or work on the weekends?
Again, I think it depends in what industry you're in and the type of company, because you have, of course, US companies that bring their culture along. You have the local Emirati companies that have a certain culture, or you have the European companies that have their culture. So I think it depends which industry and company you're working for. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of people work, overtime, and they don't necessarily get paid for that overtime.
Sad, yeah. And I think, like in living in any city, you always face some challenges. You see some disadvantages. And in your opinion, what do you need to be prepared for when you move to this country? Maybe some tips or advices that you cannot find in the internet.
Yeah. So I think something to be aware about, for me, the biggest frustration right now would be the traffic in Dubai. After COVID, a lot of people moved here. Like I said earlier, it's a very attractive country to be in, but they're a little bit behind in terms of public transport. So most people have their own car, and it's the main way of getting around. But that also means that the roads get quite congested during peak hours. The other challenge is the summer temperatures. We tend to get above 40 degrees Celsius, and that happens already in May, and it keeps going until about October. So for a large period of the year, you can't really do much outside. It's just too hot and humid. And of course, if you want to move to Dubai, it is an expensive place. So you do have to have quite some cash available before coming,
Mhm.
because you need to buy a car straight away. The housing rental normally is paid a year in advance. Sometimes you can do it in 2 checks or 3 checks, but quite often you have to have big chunk of money to be ready to move in, buy a car. And like I said, a lot of people came to Dubai, especially with the different conflicts happening around the world. So rents have gone up a lot as well the last couple of years, which means you can easily pay around $2,000 per month for one-bedroom apartment, for example.
So the prices spike now, right?
Yes, it's quite high,
Mm.
yeah. The other thing would be, we used to be able to get quite good prices on secondhand cars, but the same issue happened, during COVID. The car production stopped, and we didn't get any new cars into the country. And I think a lot of secondhand cars, actually got exported. So the secondhand car market went up as well. So same thing, you come in, you want to buy a secondhand car, prices are not what they used to be. We used to get very good deals. And then finally, if you come with family and children, you can also expect quite a high cost for kindergarten and schools. Good companies will generally provide an allowance for kindergarten and schools, but normally it's only from age 3. So in case you have to put a toddler in a kindergarten, that can easily cost you around $1,000 per month. Sometimes the really good kindergartens, they charge up to $2,000 per month. And it's the same with a good school. You're also looking at, $1,500 per month for a good school for your children.
The prices are pretty much consistent with US, I would say. Yeah.
Okay.
The daycare costs are also very expensive here and in Canada. And you should wait till 5 when the child eventually goes to public school, and schools are free here.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Now here, every school costs money.
Right.
So, I mean, a lot of people, they have a nanny, typically a Filipino nanny, and that might cost you like $800 per month, which tends to be, cheaper than actually put them in the kindergarten. So pretty much every family has a nanny living at home with them to help them out with the kids, with the food, with cleaning and so on. So that's very common here in Dubai.
Interesting. Yeah, it's hard to hire a nanny here. It's like $30 per hour, I think,
Oh, wow.
something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so here I think daycare is more affordable option than nanny.
Mhm.
Nanny for like kind of luxury. Healthcare system, I think, is also a very important topic among immigrants. Many people, when they move to another country, they always search for how like healthcare system is developed there. And I mean, it's interesting for me to know, like, are you happy with the healthcare system in Dubai?
So, I mean, the hospital here are really good, and you can actually get appointment quite easily. But that depends as well that you have a good health insurance, and normally it's the company that provides that health insurance for you. So again, that's a little bit the American model, where the hospitals mostly are private hospitals, and they cost money. So for me, I'm quite lucky to have a good health insurance from my company. But for example, my wife, she needs to pay 20% each time that she goes for any appointment. And of course, if you go frequently, then that can quickly add up in cost. But in general, the hospitals and the clinics are very good. They have the latest technologies. They have some very good expat doctors as well. So in general, it's quite good if you have the right insurance.
Nice. Nice that you can get your appointment quickly, because I had to wait, I don't remember, like few months or even half a year to get
Oh,
an
wow.
appointment in Canada,
Yeah.
because like it has a free healthcare except of dentist maybe.
Hmm.
Yeah, and you have like the downside is that you have to wait a long time there.
Yeah. I guess similar to, the UK system, you have the NHS where it's public, but then you also wait 6 months for an appointment. So I mean,
Yeah,
here in Dubai, because it's kind of for profit, let's say, that means, you can pretty much call any hospital, ask for an appointment, and you get an appointment very quick.
that's great. Another question that I'm interested in is about the friendship. Like finding friends, it's a big challenge when you move to another country and you have to build your connections from scratch. And how does friendship look like in Dubai? Is it easy for you to find new friends?
Well, I mean, I've been quite lucky to have some good friends from work, first of all, and a lot of or some of the people, because it's a big company, I knew them from before as well, and they also came over around the same time as me. I was also lucky that in the beginning, I said like I'm from Denmark. I managed to find some Danish friends, a Danish group of people to hang out with. A lot of them were also a cabin crew, so we had a lot of fun in the beginning to hang out. But what you'll find quite a lot is that people tend to hang out with their own nationalities. So you'll have the French will hang out with the French, the British with the British, and so on. A lot of the time, you don't have big mixing of people in the group, group of friends. So I think it's something you can find friends, but at the same time, Dubai is a little bit transitory, so it can end up being just kind of more on the surface. You hang out with people, you go out and socialize, but being very close can take time, if that even happens. You might have friends to hang around for 2 or 3 years, and then suddenly they leave. So it varies a lot. But like I said, for me, I have a lot of good friends from work. They're still here, in the company, and those are the ones I tend to hang out with the most. But like I said earlier as well, Dubai is also doing a lot to attract people to stay longer. You'll also find people that stay here now, 10, 15 years, and they're quite happy to stay. Same for me. I've been there 6 years. We also don't not planning to leave. And of course, it helps if you have some friends that also stick around.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I totally feel in you because I had the same feelings in Vancouver, where it was a temporary spot when people were leaving, and it's really sad when like you build connections, you spend time with them, and then they move again. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have Danish friends. Like, do you have a Danish community in Dubai? Do you celebrate some holidays together?
I mean, I think there's around 5,000 Danish people in Dubai. Occasionally, they do have events that they hold for Danish people. I would say since COVID, I've not been attending them so much, also because I got married in the meantime. So I tend to hang out just more with my close friends rather than going out a lot and socializing. There are, some of the communities do a lot of events. I would say in particular, when you see Filipinos and Indians, they tend to get together in big groups, and I think they actually have a stronger community than what you have from the Western world, and that's just their culture that they're much more family oriented and closer to each other.
I see. Yeah. I also sometimes see stories from your wife, like because typical like people from Kazakhstan associate Dubai with beach vacation, but I see that your wife is exploring many sites in Dubai that are unusual. Like, and sometimes I'm like questioning, oh, is it Dubai? Or
Mhm.
it's so interesting. So maybe you can dispel the myth about Dubai and tell me something about some exciting entertainment or cultural events that are happening there, or maybe some exciting things that you can do there except of shopping and
Yeah.
swimming.
Well, I would say it's not entirely a myth because every apartment building in Dubai has its own pool. So you always have access to your own pool that you can relax, or you have normally a gym as well in each apartment building. And of course, all the hotels have really nice pools. Some have beach access. So it's partially true that it's a pool destination. But also, like I said, in the summer it gets really hot, and the only place you can really hang out is in the malls. You're not going to be walking around outside in 45 degrees. So that's the same thing. Your pastime will be walking around in malls, staying cool, and looking at shops. But at the same time, Dubai and both Dubai and Abu Dhabi have also done a lot to become cultural hubs. So there are many artists, famous artists, now coming to Dubai and Abu Dhabi to perform concerts. For myself, I've seen some of the biggest stars here in Dubai, like Ed Sheeran was here recently. I've seen Alicia Keys, Black Eyed Peas, Imagine Dragons, John Legend, just to mention a few of them. And also Abu Dhabi, it's in particular investing a lot in museums and art galleries. So you might know that the Louvre has already been open for a while, and they'll soon open the Guggenheim Museum, which is similar to New York. And there's more and more big sporting events taking place here as well in Dubai. So they're investing as well to bring culture to the country, and also, not only for the tourism, but also for the people living here.
Yeah. I heard recently you had Dubai Expo, maybe a few years ago.
Yes, that was during 21. That was a very nice event. So you had all the different countries that came and did an exposition on their culture and their typical products. And this is also where they have this massive dome. You can always Google it, what it looks like. Expo 2020.
Okay.
They have this huge, impressive dome in the middle of the site where they would have concerts or this type of light shows and things like that. So that was a really nice experience.
Nice. And what is Dubai's most popular food? And I guess when you move to another country, you try to explore local food. Maybe do you have any favorite meal that you like most of all in Dubai?
I would say the most popular is Lebanese food and maybe Indian food. So that's always dedicated to some of the biggest populations here in the UAE. But at the same time, it's also very yummy.
Yeah,
Um,
I
but
like it too.
there's also, yeah. But there's also a lot of, for example, burger bars opening up. A lot of burger places, and for me, I love a good burger. So I tend to go to those places as well. But again, you can find pretty much any type of food here in Dubai. You have so many cultures that come and open up their own type of restaurants. But in the end, the most famous would be Lebanese, Lebanese and Indian.
What about local Arab food? Like what do they eat?
I would say it's been influenced a bit by India, so it tends to be food similar to biryani, which would be rice and chicken or rice and lamb. So that's kind of influenced from the Indian culture, I would say. That would really be the typical Emirati food is some type of meat with rice.
I see. That's pretty much it. And I have a one question that I asked to all my guests.
Mhm.
Which country or city are you dreaming to live in and why? It could be any country, any city, maybe where you're from or where you're living now, or maybe you traveled.
Yes, I mean, I actually went to Australia a few years back on holiday, and I really enjoyed it. So I think Australia could be a really cool place to be for a few years. I was in Brisbane at that time, which is quite a cool city. And so I think that could be quite interesting. But of course, the problem is it's so far away from everything else.
Yeah,
So if you have family in Europe, then you're quite far away from everything. I think another place that could be very nice to try out would be like Switzerland, for example. It's a really beautiful nature. It's very expensive, but you tend to still make a good salary and have a good life. I think those two places could be interesting for the future.
what did you like about Australia most of all?
Well, it's like the people are really nice in general, and it's also, I mean, it's a huge country, so you also have pretty much everything. You have the beaches, you have the mountains, you have rainforest, you have the desert. So it's very interesting in terms of nature. For me, I like diving. I like the beach. So we went to the Gold Coast. But yeah, it's a cool place, nice people. So for me, I liked it a lot.
Nice. I've never been in those countries. Yeah, hopefully, yeah, one day I'll travel there. So thank you so much, Patrick, for the interesting conversation, for sharing your stories. I'm wishing all the best to you and your family. And
Thank you.
hopefully we'll see each other one day in Dubai
Yes.
or Seattle.
Yeah, that'd be great to meet. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
thank you very much.